our speaker and let her start.
Hey guys, welcome. My name is Nuha Abuduhair, and I'm the owner of 17 Berkshire, a patisserie in Overton Square. So we sell European-inspired pastries, coffee, afternoon tea, custom cakes. You're welcome to walk in Tuesday through Sunday and just pick up some pastries, coffee, tea, whatever you'd like, or reserve an afternoon tea. So we've been there for about 3 years. I am a U of M alum. I went to the U of M from 2007 to 2011, and I actually studied at the Lowenberg School of Nursing. So I'm a nursing graduate. I passed my boards and worked at Le Bonheur for a couple of years, and then started having babies and decided to stay at home after I had my kids. So after my second son, I was here with 2 kids, and I decided that I needed to get up and do something for me. So I was just baking for fun, and baking and taking it to my friends, and baking it then became their friends, and then strangers, and local markets and pop-ups, and it spiraled into a business. So I've been doing this for about 6 years now, and it's been crazy, and I'm learning and teaching myself along the way. So I was invited to do this. Lucy reached out a couple of months ago and asked me to be a part. So I'm excited that it comes full circle, but I want this to be a two-way road. So if you guys have any questions, just throw them at me. If you're here, I want you to benefit from it. So whether it's a business question, a pastry question, how to balance being a mom and running a business, whatever you want, just throw them at me. So I've got a list of questions that I'm just going to read from and answer. But Lucy, direct me wherever you want to direct me, or if anyone has a question, hop in. I'd love that.
Absolutely. So all of you guys are welcome to put your question down in the chat box. We have a lot of people here today, so let's just put it down in the chat. It may be a little bit confusing if you guys unmute yourself, because you might be talking at the same time. I know for me personally, I'm really interested about how you worked through creating your own personal brand, because I know from seeing your Instagram and seeing all of your things that you have like a very niche. It's very you. And so I wanted to know how you worked through creating your own brand, and maybe some struggles that came about through that, and some highlights from that process.
So it's kind of hard to answer that because there is no clear-cut way. It's just showing up as who you are. I'm at a point in my life where I feel confident in who I am. I know that the decisions I make are always going to be in the best interest of everyone else. So if I can go in it with that intention, then I know that I'm trying to put good out there. So it goes back to your intention. I'm just trying to show up as a representation. So just a little bit of background about me. I am a first generation Arab Muslim American, born and raised here in Memphis. So you don't always see that. So I do make sure that I show up and I give a little bit about myself. That way, other people who might not be exactly like me, they can be like, oh, okay, there's another face that is a little bit different. So just personal brand, it's kind of like, this is what's going on in my life. I might be a little different in that way, but we can all relate on the struggles of like losing your keys, or having just a crazy day, or whatever it is, or loving cakes. So it's just showing up and sharing the things that I love. What was your other question? I know that was the first.
The question was, were there any struggles in the process of creating your brand? I know that a little bit that like you started at your house, doing things out of your house, and then you ended up getting your storefront. So kind of how did that come to fruition? How did you end up deciding to make that change to getting your storefront? And like, I know that's a lot of dedication. That's a lot of passion for your work. So how did that manifest itself over time?
So when my son was born, again, I was just getting up. I had postpartum depression after having kids. So at the time I was home a lot. It was winter, and I was baking, like I said, just to get myself up and moving. And so I was posting on Instagram pictures of my work just for fun. And someone reached out and asked me to be a part of a photo shoot. I was hashtagging. So I was hashtagging Memphis, hashtagging macarons, pastries, all of the things, just to gain exposure. It was not a business at this time, just to gain exposure for the Instagram page. So they invited me to this photo shoot. And when I saw the possibilities, there was a wedding planner, there was a makeup artist, there was a venue, photographer, florist. I was exposed to the potential of what the business could be. So I started looking for other ways that I could start selling product. And that led me to local flea markets. So it's not around anymore, but there used to be a market called the Urban Barn Market. And it was just a weekend pop-up, and I went, and on the first day I sold out, and I was like, oh, okay, I was not expecting this. And then second day sold out, third day sold out. So I consistently kept selling out at every pop-up. And it was basically, I told myself I would ride this wave for as long as it's there. If the steam starts to lessen a little bit, then I can always go back to nursing. But right now I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm growing, and I'm in control of what I want. So I continued, and it got to a point where I was turning away customers because of turnaround time. They wanted macarons for tomorrow or for today, and I just couldn't do it. And I couldn't do it out of my house either. So the next logical step was to open up a brick and mortar. But imposter syndrome was very real. I didn't go to pastry school. I didn't go to culinary school. I didn't go to business school. So it was a lot of figuring it out and, telling myself that I could do it, because other people told me I could do it, but I didn't believe it.
It's really interesting. I know that we speak a lot with our students about how important mentorship is during the process. So knowing that you had people around you that said that you could do it is always really important. So I'm sure that your friends and family were very supportive, but was there any successful people around you, maybe in the business, that were kind of mentors for you through the process of creating your own business?
Yes. So a few of the people that I had pop-ups in their shop. So City and State's owner, Lisa Toro, is a really good friend of mine, a huge advocate for the city. And she would sit down with me whenever I needed it. You know what you're doing. There's a need for it in the city. Here are resources that you can use. So there's the Memphis Minority Council. I believe they're downtown, but they're great. If you are a minority, they're a great place to reach out because they can connect you with people. They've connected me with mentors all over the nation, with grants, with funding, with possibilities. So just help me set it up. But with a mentor, my biggest advice is that let it come on naturally. You start approaching that person. Do not directly approach them as, will you be my mentor? They owe you nothing. Time is the biggest currency that any entrepreneur has. So make sure that you have shown up and you've got your business running, you're putting in the work, you're putting in the effort, and you go up to them and you start to slowly build a rapport with them. And then naturally they will see the potential in you and be more than happy to be your mentor. With that being said, if you want to pay to get a mentor, that's always a great accountability. So you could pay to be a mentor too.
I know students, it's kind of like an awkward experience sometimes for them, especially for our students who are looking to get internships. A lot of their degrees do require a internship type of process. So I appreciate you mentioned kind of letting it come on naturally, because it can be a difficult experience for them when they're seeking out, because they do want somebody that they connect with, somebody that they can see themselves working with over time. So I really appreciate that you mentioned that. I know that we had a student mention kind of like you're balancing between being a mother and being a businesswoman. So for me, I had written out a question that I figured the students had mentioned to me that they would be interested in. And so to go along with the question, how did you create work habits that allowed for your business to grow while also taking time for your personal life? So your marriage, your children, family, all of that.
So it goes back to that saying that everybody knows, you can't fill from an empty pot. So I made sure from the very beginning that I always forced myself to take time for me. So if the kids were at school, and at this time, my son was 1, my daughter was in daycare like twice a week. So when I only had 1 kid, my self-care was breakfast with a friend. It was running to Target and just looking and browsing around. It was going to the thrift store and kind of being inspired. So I really prioritize myself in that moment. And I want to point out that these are not vacations. These are not expensive bags. That is not self-care. Self-care are the little ways that you can consistently show up for yourself and insert it in little ways. So it might just be like, I'm going to try a new cafe today. And I'm so excited about it. So I made sure that I did that. I was also very conscious of my time. You will stumble at the beginning and say, sure, I'll do this for you with a less than 24-hour turnover. But once you've done that once or twice and you realize that money will never be enough to miss putting your kids to sleep or have your spouse feel neglected, you just start to put up those boundaries yourself. Unfortunately, there is no clear-cut way. You've just got to make mistakes and learn from them.
Logan, I see your hand is up. Do you have a question? Maybe? It may have been an accident. Well, I'll go ahead and say that I know that I often, when I'm speaking to students and I'm advising them on what they have going on, the stressors of college are all over the place. You being in nursing school, I know that that was a lot. I have quite a few nursing students to talk about that process and how difficult it is, but also building your business, that is its own entity all on its own. And so I have students a lot of times create wellness plans. I mean, they kind of map out like hour by hour of each day, and they realize over time that there's a lot more time in the day that they realize, or maybe if I wake up at 7 a.m. instead of 8 a.m. one day, I'll have more time to take care of myself, or I'll have more time to watch that show that I didn't get to, or paint my fingernails, or go out to Target, like you mentioned. So it is really important that students realize that you can't pour from an empty cup. And, there's things in your life that matter, and money, we often talk about, money obviously is a necessity in our world to, live, but at the same time, it's not everything. Relationships are very important. And sometimes that little bit of extra money is not worth the time that you neglect other things in your life. So I also wanted to ask you, so being in nursing school, I know that was a very busy time for you. Was there any organizations that you found yourself a part of? I know that you talked about, being an immigrant and being in those types of groups now, but were there any organizations that you found yourself in at the University of Memphis that were helpful for you?
I was a different person in nursing school. I was the girl crying in fetal position after her final exams, waiting to find out if she passed. I was a mess. Mental health was zero. My husband, like our couch, has a huge dip in it because he would fall asleep on the couch while I would stay awake until 5 a.m. studying. So because I was so bad in nursing school, my biggest advice is do not be like me. Make sure that you do set those boundaries. Make sure that you do take care of yourself, because if you're in nursing school now, you know this, your first day, they set you up with fear. And I would love to talk to the people at whatever nursing school is around there for a career that is supposed to be projecting care and love for other people. You go in and they start telling you like, half of you won't be here anymore, and they encourage you from a place of fear. So make sure that you tune that out. Delete your Facebook. Don't pay attention to how many people are studying, and just you do you. You've got to focus on, that you study best in the morning, or maybe you study best at 1 a.m. Maybe you study best under pressure. But what I did do after nursing school, an exam I had, I treated myself. So I would always treat myself with going to the cake store, ironically. After an exam, I would run to the cake store, or I would run to Barnes and Nobles and like take a picture of a recipe because I couldn't afford the book, and just go home and bake my heart out. So if anyone's in nursing school, I send you all of my love, because I know that it's such a challenge. But I was probably not the best nursing student.
I definitely understand that. As someone who did the same every night, crying about whatever it may be, granted, I majored in education, so it's a bit different. Our assignments were much different. I wasn't going into the hospital, but I definitely remember those stressful nights. And, I remember graduating from undergrad last year and saying, like, what did I do that for? Like, why did I miss so much valuable time and experience as an undergrad because I I was just so stressed all the time about school that I really didn't let myself enjoy the experience of college. And so I'm often telling students, like, please take the opportunity, go to the event, go, obviously because of COVID, we're in a different world, but go to the event, like it's not going to hurt you to go. Like, get
Going
your
to
things
help
done.
you to go. If you are a little bit more relaxed and not as hinged as I was, you can process information better. You are in a place where you're willing to receive instead of in a place where you are so timid and worried. So if, and one of our professors actually said this, he said, before your exam, he was the only professor to say this, but before your exam, watch a funny movie. Like the night before, just decompress, watch a funny movie. And that always stood with me. So maybe I couldn't watch a movie, but like now I'll watch an episode of The Office or New Girl. Anytime at like when we closed last year because of COVID, I felt myself going into this dark place where I was going to spiral. So I immediately had to snap myself back and say, okay, what is my self-care? What can I do while I'm here at home? And it was watching an episode. Don't watch a marathon. Netflix and chill will not get you anywhere in life. Do not do that. Watch an episode, then get up and be productive. You deserve to relax a little bit and then go do whatever you need to do.
Absolutely. Don't spend the whole day doing it, but
Right.
allow yourself the time to relax.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
don't feel guilty about it. Enjoy it. If you're there, you're there.
And that's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to go through that process for sure. I have a student that's asking, what advice do you have for a new business starting out on Instagram, especially since it is so hard to stand out on that platform?
Yes. So Instagram is kind of the king. It monopolizes everything. However, it is very difficult right now to grow because the algorithm is changing. Post consistently and make sure that your posts are of the same aesthetic. So what I would do with 17 Berkshire was I would always take the cake photos in the exact same location. So I had one spot in my house, and that way, even if the cake was different colors or a different aesthetic, the vibe of the brand was always the same. With Instagram, you need your hashtags, you need your stories. People want to see people. So make sure that you pop up and you update people. Do not post once a week and then ghost them. You need to be there. You need to be present. My biggest advice for Instagram right now is get on TikTok. Get on TikTok, have an Instagram handle in there, and then you're not posting your videos from TikTok to Reels, but you're going to be on TikTok. Those people are going to follow you there and be like, oh, I wonder where else she is or he is, and then follow you on Instagram. So it's kind of a funnel to direct them there. And then you can also repurpose those videos and recreate Reels. They say you shouldn't post your TikToks to Instagram, but definitely work on TikTok and then send them over to Instagram.
I know that social media has taken over a huge part of businesses right now, especially with the pandemic. Everybody's online instead of walking into stores. So it's interesting to see. I've seen multiple TikToks of people being successful. I've seen your TikToks. I've seen other people's promoting different things, and I think that it is a great way for businesses to be successful right now. For you, I know you have a website. So when you created your website, has it changed over time to kind of fit your aesthetic more, or how has that process looked for you? And things that you've seen that maybe have worked out, or things that you realized requests maybe you were getting like you needed to clarify things more, anything
Yeah.
like that?
So websites have come a long way. You can basically buy any domain and use a template, and it's super user friendly. It'll look professional. Somebody early on in 17 Berkshire's trajectory told me, go ahead and reserve that domain, because apparently it's like real estate. People will go in, see that you're growing, buy that website name, so that you then have to purchase it from them for like tens of thousands of dollars. So if you are legitimate about your business, go in, find your website domain, save it, pay that $100 fee, and go ahead and secure it. Now, if your brand name is not there, just find a way to tweak it. So maybe it could be 17berkshirememphis.com, whatever it might be. With the templates, there's truly nothing that you cannot do at a basic level. So right now we're still using a template, and I have people come in and adjust it. So the things that I don't know, afternoon tea, someone was able to come in and put reservations. I am trying to grow the website. I actually had a consult last week. It is $40,000 to $90,000 to get a custom website. It is not cheap. Yeah, your face just dropped. My heart dropped when I got that quote. So it is not cheap, even for me as a business. So think what you absolutely need, and then you can always customize it from there. So websites like Wix, Squarespace, Shopify, those are all great places.
I would have never thought that it was minimum of $40,000. That really did hurt my feelings, and I saw students' faces drop. I know it hurt everybody's feelings. So, but it is very important. I know with business, knowing some other business owners that you really do have to pick, especially right now. What is going to make you successful right now?
Right.
I have someone who's actually in my program with me. Marta is asking, do you ever seek pastry interns? Because we do at the University of Memphis. We have a new culinary arts program,
Yeah.
and we have several students minoring in pastry and baking who seek internships that will meet their academic internship requirement.
Okay. I personally, for me, I do not like interns because I want to invest in someone long term. Internships, we're just such a small brand and we are less than 5 years old that I truly want someone who's willing to take the time and be there and learn. Internships are usually what, 6 months, maybe even less than that. You can't learn. Like you have to go through the seasons, you have to make mistakes. So I personally don't, but we are looking to hire. So if you are in school and you can accept a part-time position, and you've done pastry, then send me an email, hello@17berkshire.com, 17berkshire.com. I actually just reached out to the school last night. So this is perfect. If you're interested, shoot me an email and I can tell you what you need. You're going to need cover letter, resume, and some photos of work you've created. So if that's something you're interested in, I'd love to have someone who's interested in learning long term.
That's great. I know our students are like I can see their faces. They're excited because I know that there's quite a few of them that when this came, when your event was published, that a lot of them were coming to me and saying like, that's so interesting to me. I would love to build a business. Maybe not in particular what you have your business in, but they're just very interested in hearing from you. But there are quite a few students who, they do bake consistently and they do like pastries and all of those things. So that's very interesting. Maria is asking, is there something you would change if you could redo your journey from the start? Or do you think the whole journey was worth it? And then she also says mistakes, accomplishments, and all. Also, what was the most important lesson you've learned in your process so far?
So I appreciate the whole process. I wish I had more confidence in myself. I always wanted that outside someone to be like, yes, you're on the right path, when internally my gut was telling me that it was either a yes or a no. So I wish I didn't let imposter syndrome control me, because I know what I'm offering. I know that I've got a good product, and I know that I've got a vision. So that would be my biggest thing, is truly mental health, just trusting myself a bit more.
Absolutely. I have another student. They've got some fun questions, so I'm going to throw those in so it's not just like
Oh,
all
man.
business. I've got a student asking, Amelia's asking, what's your favorite pastry to make and eat?
I love cookies. I love chocolate chip cookies. So it's so simple, but I will never say no to a chocolate chip cookie. To make, I love rolling out tarts. It's just really relaxing to me. So that's probably something. Orange blossom macarons are also delicious, them and lavender. So those are things that I can never say no to.
I see all of your like flavors every day that you post. Guys, you have to follow her on Instagram. It is amazing. I like watch her make stuff all the time and see like what she offers that day. And I'm tempted nearly every day to go up there because there's multiple different flavors and it's everything. And it's just very aesthetically pleasing. So you guys have to follow her. Also, for any of you who want her email, feel free to send me personally an email if you would like to. And I'm happy to give you her information. I also I can tag her or she can give you her Instagram her TikTok all of those things to support her. She's a local business. We love our local businesses here in Memphis. I have another student, Kendall, is asking, do you all have cheese danishes?
We don't. Now, I've been wanting to do breakfast for about 2 years now, but COVID threw us for a loop last year, and this year is the goal to have it. But I would love some cheese danishes and some croissants, and I see Ellie on here too. So yes, hopefully we'll do that in 2021.
Awesome.
We'll post on our stories on Instagram if we do.
Perfect. I love all the updates on things. I'm still waiting to try the Earl Grey macaron. So
Yeah, that one's delicious.
trying to get it.
Social media, I just realized something. So social media can get really overwhelming. Your followers are probably following thousands of other people as well. So really what's growing right now is growing your email newsletter, having people subscribe to your newsletter, having some sort of incentive for them to opt in. So if anyone's running a business or whether it's a personal blog or something, a newsletter goes directly to that person, and you have direct access to them. You follow so many people on Instagram that you're like, oh, I didn't see that update. I didn't know that they were doing that. It's easy to miss. So if you're looking to build a newsletter, is a great way to reach your audience directly.
I love the percentage off for afternoon tea for getting into your newsletter. It's a great incentive. I have a student asking, what's been the hardest part of running your business?
The hardest part, oh gosh, it is making sure that I'm taking care of everyone, because it is a business. We have had to pivot so much since COVID. So when you're a small business, your employees don't get 401k, they don't get PTO, they don't get, like, the expectations are a lot more, and the expectations on me are a lot more as well. So it's making sure that we're all treated as fairly as possible, because I can't give you everything that an established business can give you, but I do hope that I can give you a place where you feel loved and part of a family and part of decision making, and you're just part of a team that makes you feel good, where you enjoy coming to. So that's one of the hardest things, is making sure I'm fair all across the board, to myself included.
I understand that. I didn't realize, and I'm sure a lot of other students also didn't realize, the things that are not offered when you're a small business. So I can understand that being hard. Also bringing on new employees and kind of having to run through that procedure as well and see what people's expectations are. Not only their expectations for you, but your expectations for them as well. Faith is asking, how did you pass nursing school with all the pressure?
Oh gosh, it was a lot of prayer. It was a lot of prayer, Faith, and it was just, I will say Lowenberg sets you up for the NCLEX really well. So you will have the knowledge, but I'm going to go back and say it again. Your mental health is the most important thing. So when you're on vacation, do whatever makes you happy. Mute out the girls that stand in the hallway before your exams and talk about how much they've studied and are going over things. Mute them out, find yourself a corner, and find yourself an ally who is going to have your back. Just take care of yourself and you are going to be fine. There are courses you can take to help prep last minute. So if you can find one of those, I know the U of M recommended someone, and that's who I went through, but they do set you up really well. Just you take care of your mental health.
Absolutely. And I would say any students who are also going through that trouble of tuning people out, trying to find, your confidence, because it's a difficult process, regardless if you're in nursing school or if you're in any other school here at Memphis, trying to find that confidence within yourself, trying to figure out what your path is going to be as you go into your career. As you see, like, Nuha, she was a nursing major and now she owns her own business. Our life doesn't always have to be a perfect, steady, everything's the same. So I think she's a great example of, being successful, changing, but still being successful, because that's always a really, really hard time. But I would also say for any students that are struggling right now, and, needing any resources, we have great resources on campus, counseling centers, hangout spots. I would recommend, finding your group, finding a group of students that you feel confident in studying with, but also just a group of friends that you can talk to, and that you can relax with. And self-care doesn't always have to be alone. You can be with other people. So I think it's really important that you take care of yourself. I also have a couple other students asking some fun questions. Lyric is asking, Are your macarons tree nut free? I used to have a terrible time finding them, so I stopped looking because most people make them with almond flour.
So macarons will always be made with almond flour. So yeah, that's just the recipe for them. It's almond flour, powdered sugar, egg whites, and some sort of filling in the middle. So it's kind of like asking for a chocolate chip cookie without chocolate chips in it. It's just a recipe for it. So unfortunately, they are made with almond flour, but we have other things that don't have tree nuts. So maybe we can get you something else sweet.
She's telling me that she's very sad about it.
I'm
I totally get it. I wouldn't have, that's also not as many ingredients as I thought would be
no.
in something that delicate. That's interesting. Bree is asking, what are some of your tips for starting your own business?
So it's narrowing down what you're going to offer. So when I first started, I thought that I would have to do fondant cakes and carved cakes and themed cakes and do, a whole menu of things. But truly, if you hone in on one thing and do that one thing really well, in my case, it was macarons. And this was unintentional, but any business person will tell you this. Find out what you do well and what you love to do and hone in on that. Because if you do something really well and you don't enjoy doing it, it's not worth investing your time in it. But if you can hone in on, for example, you want to be a fashion major, hone in on skirts or hone in on headbands, baking, if you just want to do character sugar cookies, find what you do really well, hone in on that, and then develop a brand around it. They say develop an ideal client avatar. And one way you can do that is see who's already purchasing from you. What are they like? Where do they shop? What are the other brands they support? How much money do they make? Where do they live? And go from there. So I was basically my own ideal avatar. So looking outwards in, I was looking for someone who, like me, wanted everyday luxuries, and I could do that with macarons.
That's really interesting. So I know you spoke earlier about, adding additional things to the menu that, like cheese sandwiches, breakfast, all of that. So do you think that in the beginning with businesses, less is more and then growing over time, that's important, figuring out where your boundaries are? Do you think
Yes.
that's the best way to go?
I do, because when you start a business, there's already so much that you are thinking of and having to consider on a daily basis. So if you have fewer decisions to make, you're ultimately going to grow your confidence and grow your customer base because you're an expert in that one field. Now, the larger you get, the more time you're going to be like, okay, I feel confident here, I can add this on. And then you know what? That kind of shakes up your customers a bit and they're like, oh, I want to try this now. It brings them back in. So don't think you have to have it all figured out. If anything, planning it out will keep people coming back slowly.
I have another student asking something that's a little bit like it's not like super business wise, but it has to do with baking and all of those things. Kaylee's asking that she's saying that she loves to bake and she's curious if you have any tips or tricks for making the perfect macaron.
So macaron recipes are easy to find, but it's all about technique. Whenever you do make your macaron, give yourself plenty of time. You don't need to have all of the equipment that, like, you don't need to have a silpat mat. You don't need to have all of this stuff. Just practice, practice, practice. You've got your ingredients, take your time doing it. It's more about the folding than anything else. And just pay attention, take pictures. And this is something that I always tell anybody who comes to me with advice, take pictures. So whether it's baking or building a business or whatever it might be, take pictures of your work because there is inevitably going to be progress. So it's a confidence boost whenever you get to see, oh, I'm actually doing better than what I thought I was doing. So focus on your folding and then play around with your baking times, temperature, and take pictures so you know what it was last time versus this time.
Kaylee is saying something back to you. She's saying that she always struggles with the folding and making peaks, so she appreciates your commentary. I have a comment from Bryn, and they're asking, I know a little bit about this, but I'll let you share it. How and why did you choose the name of your store?
Yes, so 17 Berkshire is an homage to my childhood home. I grew up in Nutbush, where, if you guys know where the OG Jerry Snow Cones is, it's like walking distance from there. So I actually went to the elementary school across the street, and then we would take field trips where our parents would have to sign for us to leave campus, walk across the street. and have a snow cone at Jerry's, but it's an homage to that house. So it was 4117 Berkshire. I took off the 41 and left 17. That's kind of where I grew up. My mom was always baking, so that's what it reminded me of.
That's really interesting. That's also a really sweet story, kind of like brings it full circle, like a full circle moment for you. So for me, I wanted to see how, just like a question for you about students and their growth. How do you think students can work right now during their undergraduate career, or those of you, some of you who may be in graduate school? How do you think they can work now to set them up for success in their future?
I say get a variety of jobs that you just enjoy. You don't necessarily have to get a job that is specific to your career. So I was a waitress prior to this. I was a receptionist, and then I was a nurse, right? So all of these jobs taught me different things. The biggest thing is communication. Whatever job you are in, you need to have good communication skills. And I think, especially with this generation and social media, where we're not as face to face, it we get nervous when we have to confront people, or we have to talk about things, or we have to talk on the phone. But communication is like the biggest thing that can push your business forward. It's not about being the bubbliest person in the room, but it's saying like, hey, these are my ideas. What do you think? And if somebody tells you no, then you just take that with a grain of salt, you review it, and then you pursue the next thing. But really hone in on different jobs that will allow you to grow in communication, organization, and let you save some money on the side. So waitressing is a great way to do that too.
For sure, I always vouch for waitressing as somebody who did that a little bit. I didn't really, the place I worked didn't really let me get tips, but they just a lot. But
And you
um,
learn something from that. So
absolutely, I think that everybody should have to work in customer service at some point in their life. Very, very telling, helps you as a person overall. I'm going to put her Instagram at in the chat for all of you to see. She has lots of fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat down below. I will, any of you who have any more questions, please type them below. But also, Nuha, at this time, I want you to take, this time, if you want to answer maybe any like frequently asked questions you get, or maybe some questions like you often get through Instagram or TikTok or whatever about your business that maybe you kind of want to like answer, so people are knowledgeable about it, so they can tell their other friends about your place and your business and what you're about.
yeah, so I mentioned this at the beginning, but 17 Berkshire does both custom and everyday walk-ins. We do coffee and tea. So if you're studying for your exam, you're welcome to sit inside, grab yourself a cup of coffee. And I love it when girls do this. Every, I guess, assignment that they finish, they go and they purchase a macaron as a reward. So back to that self-care. So whether you're meeting a friend or whatever, you can have lunch somewhere, come over to us. Afternoon tea is a great way to just kind of have a nice fancy afternoon. It's $35 per person. You can have a couple of friends come and meet them and just enjoy yourself, pamper yourself for a little bit. But other than that, I'm happy to keep answering questions if somebody has anything that they'd like to ask now.
For me, I know that some students have mentioned it throughout the chat. I just I just am so like intrigued by everything you do. I think that your brand is so all of you guys will see when you see her on Instagram, it's just so well put together. And I kind of want to know, like, has it always been that way? And like I also want to know, at what point did you start bringing other people on? So did you have, I know some people that I know who had businesses, they had friends and family help if they package orders, all of those things, they've had friends and family help. But was there a point where you were like, I need to bring other people in to help. I need help with pastries. I need help with baking. What point did that come about?
So I'm going to preface this because especially Ellie's on here too. She knows this. A lot of it is smoke and mirrors. Things look beautiful, but behind the scenes, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I messed this up, or this happened, and it was unexpected. So do not believe I'm supposed to give you this illusion of this is beautiful. Like I'm supposed to inspire you. I do try and keep it real sometimes, but my job is to inspire you. My job is to make you forget about whatever happened, and make you a little bit happier. Now, I'm trying to remember what your question was about. It was,
when did you
oh, when I
kind of
brought people on.
realize your team? Yeah.
So I'm a complete control freak, but that first day of setting up the market, I thought that I could do it by myself. And my sister came and offered to help. I quickly realized that I needed a second hand. My husband would stay up until 3 a.m. here and help me fill macarons. So when I was at home, it was always me. And then whenever I was struggling, I would bring someone on. So don't do that. Try and have someone who can help you lend a hand consistently. That way you have time to grow. Because if you can offload a few things, then that means you can learn other things. So I hired people when we first opened, and it was really nice because I was there all the time. So they saw the effort I was putting in, and they were inspired to also put in effort. And it's just learning how to delegate. I still struggle with that, but I think it's just because I'm so close to the brand that it's not that I worry that people can't do it. I want to do it. So yeah, if you can delegate things, get a social media manager, get someone to write your emails, get someone to help you with packaging and design. Once we grew, I did hire someone for graphic design. And obviously we've got front of house and back of house staff. We've got lawyers, we've got insurance people, just the whole gamut. So as it pops up is when I hire.
That makes a lot of sense. I would definitely be the same way I still am the same way with any assistance or anything. I'm very close to everything, so I kind of want to like oversee it all. And that's really hard to kind of like take your hand off of it and, learn when is the proper time to delegate tasks. That's hard. Marta is asking, how big is your team currently?
We are pretty small. We're less than 10 people. So it fluctuates, but we're less than 10 people.
Wow, that is pretty small. I would have thought it was small, but 10 or less, that's a lot smaller than I would have thought. If you wouldn't mind, could you tell the students exactly like where you're located, like where they can find you?
So we're in Overton Square, but we are behind so on Madison, you've got Babalu's, you've got Lafayette's, you've got India Palace and Breakaway, but we are behind them. So if you go to where, oh my gosh, I forgot what it was called, Belly Acres. We are right next to Belly Acres. We're in the courtyard. There's a parking garage that's free until 6 p.m. You can park there and just walk over. And we are right below the Ivory Closet. So we're on Trimble. A lot of times in the spring, summer, and fall, they do free movie night. So that's a thing to keep an eye out. I try and share these events just because it's something fun. You can pop in, grab a hot chocolate, and then have like a pillow or somewhere comfortable to sit and watch a free movie in the summer. So right next to us is the art project. So if you've got kids, it's a great place to go. I think they even do things for adults, but yeah, we are on the backside where the courtyard is.
That's a really good spot. And I appreciate the fact that, you plug other things that are going on. Nothing wrong with that. I think that we're about done with questions. I don't see any. If I missed anybody's question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I apologize if I did. But Nuha, for you, do you have any closing thoughts for students? Any information that you want to tell them?
I mean, I'm here. If somebody ever has a question, you can shoot me an email. You could DM me. My personal is Nuha Sufyan, NuhaSofiyan. I'm not the best at always getting to all the DMs because I'm trying to focus on the business and the kids, but I will get to it. So I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So just feel free to reach out. I'm just going to leave you again with mental health. Make sure you take care of yourself. Do not put your worth in someone else's hands. You are much more valuable than that. Don't let someone else tell you that you aren't. So I hope that whatever you want to do, you just pursue it, because what's the worst that could happen? You're going to learn something along the way.
Absolutely. Well, Nuha, I just want to thank you so much for coming and speaking with our students today. I know this is a huge event. We've got 122 people here right now. So just coming to hear you speak. And I really hope that the students show your support. Go follow her Instagram. Go, go order. Go do your afternoon tea. I know I'm gonna set myself up an appointment soon.
Love that.
Very interesting things.
Yeah, come.
Go grab yourself a coffee. Go grab yourself a macaron. In the afternoon. Reward yourself. We talk about self care. There's nothing wrong with going and grabbing a macaron in the middle of the afternoon.
And
But
tell me
thank you.
if you're there, just say like and you can tell one of the girls if I'm not there, but just say hi that you were in here, and I hope that this resonated with you. So come visit us.
Absolutely. Go visit them, go support them. We love our local business owners. Just want to say thank you again for coming and sharing your time and sharing your experiences. I don't have any more questions. So students, at this time, whatever you want to say, you're welcome to. I have a lot of thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your time in the chat, but you are free to go at this time. Those of you who need attendance references or whatever for your sorority or anything else, just reach out to me. My personal email is l.orr@memphis.edu.